Okay, guys, welcome to our second video of quadratic equations. In our first video, we try to apply Nel-Factor law to solve some of the quadratic equations. Okay, to use Nel-Factor law, you must have two factors multiplied together equals 0. Okay, so that's why sometimes we have to factorize the quadratic equation first. Okay, and there are two methods we used in last lesson. The one is taking out common factors, and the other is just use the difference of squares, like a squared minus b squared equals a minus b times bracket a plus b. Okay, and all these quadratic equations you might have observed there are only two terms. Okay, there are only two terms. Okay, you can see there are only two terms, 1 and 2, and always two terms. That's for example 2, and for example 3 as well. We have only two terms to work with. But generally for quadratic equations, you will see three terms. This is more general quadratic equations. Okay, and how can we do them? Three terms quadratic equations by factorization, and then so in year 10 for students in my class I use tables. Okay, not quite sure about the other class taught by Mr. Daniel. You might use other methods. All right, so if you are very comfortable with the method you used in year 10, then that's okay with me. Yeah, as long as you got the answer, then there won't be no problem with me. But I just try to introduce to you, well, for some of you, just try to refresh what do we mean by factorization by using tables for quadratic equations. Okay, let me start with this. So in year 10 or year 9, right? So in year 9, there's some question like, can we expand expressions like this? I know some of you might do it like drawing arrows. Okay, drawing arrows and you will get your answer anyway. Okay, but there's another way to do it. You can draw a table. Okay, this must be a 3 by 3 table, 3 rows and 3 columns. Okay, in that 3 by 3 tables, you just write your first brackets over here. So x plus 1, normally you need to carry that plus sign to the second term. And your second factors to the first column. Okay, then you will just get the combination of the row and columns by doing multiplication. Like the first term you will get is x times x, which will becomes x squared. And for the second one is plus 1 times x, then you will have plus 1 times x, just plus x. And x times minus 3, that's minus 3x, plus 1 times minus 3, so that's minus 3. Okay, so, and you just copy those four terms, x squared plus x minus 3x minus 3, and you will see that's plus x minus 3x, these two terms, they are like terms. Still remember the name for those terms. They are like terms. That means they're both in terms of x, so you can add them up. So plus x minus 3x, that means minus 2x. Okay, so you can rewrite your answer like this. Okay, so that's how you work in year 9. So you can use table to expand the two bracket multiplications. But the problem in year 10 is how can you factorize? Okay, so in year 10, it's more about how can you factorize it, how can you do it backward? Like, how can you factorize this? Okay, so to factorize this, we can, so in my class, we've learned that you can still use table, again, 3 by 3 table, okay, but you just need to do things backward, okay. So unlike expanding, if you are factorizing, then you have to do things backwards, right? So you've already got x squared minus 2x minus 3, but you need to factorize that into two factors, and you need to think about what numbers should be here. What are the numbers? Okay, or what are the polynomials? Okay, so to do the tabulation, all you need to do is fill in the first term x squared over here. So that's an x squared. And the last term minus 3 over here. So you don't need to worry about the middle term at the start. Okay, then you need to work on these 4 cells. All right. So then you need to think about how can I get two things times together equals x squared. Then you say, oh, okay, so it must be x times x. So x times x. So it's all good. All right. Then how can I get two things multiplied together equals minus 3? So you can say, okay, how about I got minus 1 but plus 3? Would that work? Let's see. All right. So if you have minus 1 here and you times x, then you will have, let me use another color, minus x, and minus x times plus 3, it becomes minus 3, oh, sorry, plus 3 times x, or x times plus 3. So that's plus 3x. So when you try to add these two things together, what will you get? You get plus 3x minus x. So that becomes minus 3 plus minus 1. So that's plus 2x. Okay. So is that correct? When you compare to the middle term, minus 2x. Oh, no. So that means it's not correct. So that means you have to go back. You have to go back to think, is this minus 1 plus 3 combination, does them work? No. Then you have to think about other options. So it's always about trial and error. So that's really important thing to notice. Okay, for all factorization of quadratic expression of 3 terms, you always need to do trial and error. Okay, so normally it's very common that you can't get your answer in your first attempt. Okay, so how about next time? So last time we tried plus 3 and minus 1, it doesn't work. But you still need to get something multiplied together equals minus 3, right? So this time we'll go with, oh, sorry, minus 3 and plus 1. Okay, so in that case, I got minus 3x here, and I got plus 1x right here. Okay, so these are two like terms. When I add them up, plus 1x minus 3x, which is minus 2x when you add them up. Okay, and minus 2x is really the middle term, so that's bingo. So you're happy to get it. So that means this is a correct combination. Okay, so that means you know how to factorize them. So let's go back to the original question. You need to factorize and you need to get number into it. So right now I know what number they should be. Okay, let's say you see x minus 3, so that should be x minus 3 here, and the other is x plus 1. Okay, so when you go back to C, exactly you will get the same factors. Okay, so that's how it works. So that's why I love using tables, because it's reversible. It's always reversible. Okay, and it's easier to understand. All right, so let's go back to our questions in the handouts. All right, um, in the handouts, you need to work out how can I factorize, do the factorization with x squared plus 4x plus 3 equals 0. Okay, so again, we will try to factorize first, okay, like what we did before. But this time there are 3 terms. Okay, there are 3 terms. So we try to use table. If there are 2 terms, you don't need to worry about the table, but there are 3 terms, then you need to use table. So remember which term I should put into the table first. The first term I should put in is x squared. Okay, and the second term should be the last term. So you put first term and the last term into these 2 positions. Okay, then you think about, okay, what would be the first row and first column? Okay, and the question is, what uh, what are the 2 terms? Okay, when they multiply together, they will give you x squared. So the obvious answer, they must be x and x. I think 90% of the cases would be just that simple. You have x and x. And the more challenging part is you need to get, oh sorry, I need to write plus 3 here. You need to get something multiplied together to get plus 3. So let's say, how about the obvious choice is plus 3 times plus 1, right? Well, minus 3 times minus 1, but let's do the easier part first. So that's plus 3 plus 1. So is that okay? Just write 3 and 1. That's okay, but I will show you why I would rather prefer to write the complete version for the second number here, both in the row and in the column. So for the leading term, x and x is okay. You just write x and x, but for others, you better write the numbers with the plus or minus sign there. Okay, so plus 3, and then I'm going to get plus 3 times x, so that would be plus 3x, and minus 1 times x, so that would be minus 1x. Okay, so again, you need to see whether the combination of these 2 like terms will give you the middle term in the original question. So these are the like terms I have. Plus 1x, plus 3x, so that means they will become plus 4x. And plus 4x is exactly the middle term. So that's exactly the middle term right here. Oh, so that means it's good. It's good. Okay, so that means this table works. Okay, so when that table works, that means the first row and first columns, they are the factors you are looking for, right? So that's why I could do the factorization, the factor form. I'm going to have the factor form in terms of x plus 3 times x plus 1. So there are 2 factors, the first row and first column, times 0. So again, you see that's now factor law can kick in. Now factor law can kick in. So that becomes x plus 3 equals 0, or x plus 1 equals 0. So x equals minus 3, or x equals minus 1. So that's how it works. So I hope most of you can still recall from last year's learning. Okay. All right, so that's how it works for my first question. And let's move on to my second example. Sorry, the example B for B. Okay, so in this case, x squared minus 10x plus 16. So again, there are 3 terms. 3 terms. So for 3 terms, you try to factorize them, use table. Okay, which is the first term you are going to put into the table? Okay, a few seconds to think. Which term are you going to put into a table? X squared, right? what would be the second term you're going to put into the table? Okay, so that's plus 16. Remember to carry that plus with the number as well. Okay, and obviously you need to get your first row and first column something to multiply together to get x squared. So it's quite obviously. Okay, and you need to get two numbers multiplied together to get your 16. And of course, there are plenty of choices. You can say, oh, okay, I could see 4 times 4 plus 4 times 4. Would that be okay? All right, you can try. Okay, so plus 4x, and here plus 4 times x plus 4x. So plus 4x, when you add them up, become plus 8x, but the middle term is minus 10x. Does it work? No, it doesn't work. Okay, so you need to erase them and try other numbers. So that's what we call trial and error. Okay, so you need to get two numbers. When they add up, they equals 10. Okay, so which two numbers will get 10? So 4 and 4, it doesn't get 10. But how about 8 and 2? Because 8 times 2 plus 8 and plus 2. All right, they are also equal. 8 times 2 also equal plus 16. Would that be okay? So let's see, plus 8x plus 2x. Okay, when you add them up, it becomes plus 10x. Oh, it's very close. But the problem is the sign is not plus, it's minus, right? So, okay, so something wrong. Because we need the middle term as negative, so possibly I should not use plus. So I need to do a little bit modification because it's really close. I'm not going to start over again. So I just do some slight modification. How about I just change that to minus? Just change that to minus. And then this one becomes minus, minus, and minus. And that works. So when I change that plus 8 and minus plus 2 into minus 8 minus, why I have to change it both of them? Because you need to still keep that the two numbers when they multiply together they equals plus 16. So minus 8 times minus 2 still equals plus 16, right? Okay, so that means the proper combination should be, the factor form should be x minus 8 and x minus 2 times equals 0. Okay, and in that case, null factor law, and you have 8 or x equals 2. That's it. Okay, good. I hope you really right now you understand what's the main techniques in this skill, right? Okay, the most important part is how can you get you need to remember the order of the terms you put in to the table, and you need to do the trial and error to get that middle term. Okay, so I will give you some time to try that C. So you might just pause the video for 5 minutes. Okay, so we will pause the video for 5 minutes. Okay. Okay. So I hope you've done your attempt, right? So let's see if you've got the answer, right? Okay, the first term I'm going to put in is x squared. Here, you see 21 now is minus 21. And again, you put 2x there. Okay, so the key is how can you get these two numbers? So you need to get minus 4. So that's the middle term, so which is really important. And you know 7 times 3 is 7 times 3 is 21. But you need to get minus in the middle term. So that means one of the number need to be negative. I mean out of 7 and 3. So in this case, it should be minus 7 and plus 3. And so you have minus 7x plus 3x. Okay, So when you add these two together, plus 3x minus 7, so they will equals minus 4x. Okay, so the middle term is minus 4x. That means it works. Okay, and so the factor form, the corresponding factor form, will be like that. All right, and you will have. Okay, some of you might just want to skip to the last step to write the answer. That's okay, but for a teacher's perspective, it's always important to emphasize the application of null factor law. So I always write this line, but if you don't like it, you want to skip to the final line of the answer, that's okay. All right, and there's the last question. So again, please try to do it in 5 minutes again. All right, and we pause the video, and you pause the video for 5. All right, okay. So see if you could get the answer. All right. Okay, so the first term is always, I'm going to put x squared here, and then I'm going to put minus 36 and x here. So how about minus 36? So there are many combinations, like you might try 2 times 18, but 2 times 18, the 2 and 18, you will never get minus 5. So, and 6 times 6 also equals to minus 36, but you can't get anywhere close to minus 5. So how about 9 and 4? 4 times 9. Okay, 4 times 9. That will give you 36. But the key is which number you need to put as negative. So you see that's minus 5x. So let's just put the bigger number negative, the small number positive, and you will have 4 plus 4x here, minus 9x here. And when you add these two like terms together, minus 9x plus 4x is minus 5x. So they match. So that means this table is correct. And all you need to do is just x plus 4 times x minus 9 equals 0. And so that will give you x plus 4 equals 0, or x minus 9 equals 0, x equals minus 4, or x equals 9. Okay, good. All right, there are more examples in example 5. What's the difference between example 5 and example 4? And of course, example 5 is more difficult. So for all example 4, you see the leading term, the leading terms are always x squared. They're all x squared. So that means what? That means there's no number in front of x squared. X squared is the leading term, and this is what we call monic quadratic. Okay, because you just have x squared to lead the whole quadratic equation, and there's no number other than 1 in front of x squared, and that's a monic quadratic. So monic quadratic equation is easier to factorize. Okay, but here you see there are 2 over here, 3 over here. So these are non-monic. Oh, what am I? Non-monic quadratic equation. Okay. And non-monic is more difficult. But we can use the same idea. Okay, very pretty much the same. All right. So let's say I will put 2x squared here plus 5 here. And how can I get 2x squared by multiplying 2 terms here? Of course, you can't just say x times x, because x times x is just x squared. You can't get that 2. So how about I write 2 here? So 2x times x is 2x squared. So that works, it seems. Okay, and how can you get 5? Okay, then you say, how about just 1 times 5? Plus 1 times plus 5, because the middle term is plus as well. So I just put all plus. Would that work? So you see, plus 1 times x is plus 1x, plus 2x times plus 5, that's plus 10x. Okay, so when you add these two like terms together, you will have plus 11x, but the middle terms obviously is plus 7x, so it doesn't work. Okay, so that means it doesn't work. Okay, so I'm going to go back again. So what's the problem? So obviously for 5, you can only get 1 times 5. Okay, and you can't have other combinations. So, but how about the position? Because you put 5 here, that 5 would be used to multiply 2x. That becomes 10x, which is what we don't want, because the middle term is only 7x. Okay, so how about we swap the position by putting 5 here and plus 1 here? Would that work? Let's try. So plus 5x in this case, and plus 1 times 2x plus 2x. Okay, let's add them up. So in this case, that's plus 7x. Okay, so they match. You see, they match. Okay, so that means it works. Okay, and so the factor form should be 2x plus 5 times x plus 1 equals 0, and 2x plus 5 equals 0, while x plus 1, 0, 2x equals minus 5, x equals minus 1, x equals minus 5 over 2, or x equals minus 1. And that's it. Okay. Oh, good. And how about the second one? Okay, the second one is even more difficult. You can see that's the large term is negative, and middle term minus 20x, and they're 3x squared. Okay, so I'll give you like 5 minutes again. Try to solve it. Okay, so pause the video now, spend 5 minutes, try to get your solution, and okay, let's go. All right, so again, 3x squared here. Don't forget the minus sign with 7. Okay, and obviously you want to have x and 3x here. Okay, and how can you get minus 7? So you must have 7 times 1, but one number need to be minus. Okay, so let's just randomly get it like minus 7 here plus 1 here. Just trial and error. So in that case, you will have plus 1 times 3x plus 3x minus 7 times x. Would that work? Okay. Plus 3x minus 7x, that's minus 4x. Oh, it doesn't look good. Okay, so it's quite far away from minus 20. Okay, so, and then we have to go back again. Okay, so for last attempt, we see that if you put 7 to x, then you won't get anything near, that's 20. So how about this time I get 7 over here, I got 1 here, and we'll say, because the middle term is negative, I will try to put the larger number negative and the smaller number plus. Okay, minus 7 times 3x minus 21x plus 1 times x, so it's plus 1x. Okay, so this time it looks really promising. So minus 21x plus 1x is minus 20x. So it fits the original equation. The middle term are the same. All right, so that means we get the proper factors. Okay, and that's how it is. All right, just fast forward. Okay, and need to fast forward. That's it. All right. Okay, so and let's go to example 6. For example 6, you see the question is they are not in the proper form. Okay, so remember when we talk about the quadratic equation, the general form of quadratic equation must be ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So there are 3 terms, and x squared term must go first, and then the x term, and then a constant term. So that's the general form. But that's not the only possible form in quadratic equations, because you can rearrange terms, you can put terms to the right hand side, and you make it look different to the general form. But if you want to solve it by factorization, you need to rearrange. Okay, so if the quadratic equations are not in the general form, not in the standard format, then you need to rearrange the terms if necessary. Okay, like in this case, you see that x squared minus 5x equals 14 is not in the form we would like to have. Then you need to put that 14, okay, to the left to make it like 3 terms on the left hand side, starting with x term, x squared, and then x term and the constant. Okay, how about that one? For that one, for boy, you need to, okay, put that minus 2x squared to the left hand side. But even that one is not yet ready for you to do factorization. You have to rearrange the order of the terms. The first term must be the term of x squared. So it's 2x squared minus 7x plus 6 equals 0. Okay, so you see, pretty much like in both cases, you rearrange the terms, then you know how to solve it. Okay, so let's do it like a practice. Can we just try to solve this both? So you know how to, after rearranging, it's all about solving them by tabulation. Okay, how about we do it in, I think you should be better than this now. So 8 minutes. Oops. 8 minutes. Okay, then I'm not going to write the solution over here. I'm going to show you the solution in the PowerPoint, right? Okay, so let me pause the video and you as well, and you just try to spend 8 minutes, try to solve them. Okay, I hope you've done it. So let me just show you step by step. Okay, so that's in my PowerPoint. Okay, you could download the PowerPoint from the OneNote. Okay. Okay, first of all, you need to rearrange the terms and then use the table. So you see the sequence of putting in numbers. So, okay, so you got the factors. All right, for the second one, oh, sorry, I did something. I should write the. I forgot to write the correct form. So that should appear earlier. Okay, good. So you will get the solution then. Let me change the animation a little bit. I should move it much earlier. I need to do it now, but otherwise I just forget. Okay, yeah, so that's it. All good. And that's a practice 2. Remember, you've already got practice 1. For practice 1, I ask you to have a 20 or 30 minutes practice on some of the factorization, solving by factorization questions. Okay, right now is another practice using tabulation method. Okay, so most of you should be okay, and I just try to have a some of you have some um, refreshed learning. Okay, so let me try to get you to do this one and that one. So F, you need to rearrange that. Okay, F, all right, and then for the following questions, so you have a harmonic, which is more difficult. So let's just try 2 harmonic questions. Okay, so there are 4 questions, I guess, even though um, you might not be able to recall all the facts at the beginning of the lesson, you should have most of them back into your memory right now. Okay, so I think should be okay within 20 minutes, at most 30 minutes. Okay, right, that's it. So that's the practice for part 1. So my next video would be on quadratic formula. That would be part 2. And then there's another one for applications. That's it. Okay, so see you next time.